Hey guys, my name is Steve and welcome to AEAC Vlog. If you guys are new around here, that's cool, so am I. This is actually a sister channel to my primary YouTube channel, the Airgun Exploration and Advancement channel, otherwise known as AEAC Main. If you haven't been there before, be sure to check it out for in-depth product reviews on airguns, as well as around the world event coverage. But this new offshoot baby sister channel, if you will, is my time to be able to get in front of you guys and slow things down a little bit and share with you as I discover and have us some learning moments. And as you can see today, we're going to talk about chronographs just a little bit. But before we get into that, where have I been? What have I been doing? Well, if you follow me on Instagram, Facebook, or AEAConline.com, you will know full well what I've been up to. But if you don't, over the last couple of weeks, I've been doing a couple of things. One, I've been learning and working on a full product review on the brand new FX Airguns Impact X out of Sweden. And all last week, I was in the Salt Lake City, Utah area to help film and document and share the Rocky Mountain Airgun Challenge by Utah Airguns. Now, I plan to do 3 videos for that, one of which I've already released, which was on the school given by world-famous sniper Jim Smith, who was in the Black Hawk helicopter that actually went down in Mogadishu, Somalia. Yeah, the one that they based the movie Black Hawk Down off of. So if you want to get schooled by a real live Delta Force sniper, be sure to head over to AEAC Main and check that out. And like I said, there will be 2 more behind it. But outside of that, I've had some real challenges the last couple weeks here at AEAC filming for you guys. You may or may not know it, but in the Tampa Bay, Florida area, we get about 50 inches of rainfall annually, 30 of which fall in June, July, and August, which can make my job very difficult. Basically every afternoon around 12 o'clock, the thunderstorms start to kind of develop along the sea breeze where that collides from the east and the west down the center of the state, which is where my film site is, about 25 miles from the house here. And at the moment, it is completely flooded out. So yesterday, the property owner, a very good friend of mine, and I, Chris, spent the better part of 4 or 5 hours taking that entire range and outdoor studio and relocating it to higher ground. It was very hot, it was very humid, it was very hard work, and we both about died, but we successfully got it done. My new challenge is going to be, how am I going to get out there, because the pathway from the street to the new higher range is also flooded out, but I did order some brand new tires for the truck last night, so hopefully that will cure that. I definitely don't want this to slow me down here at AEAC as I did last year, because there's so much great product here that I've got to get to review for you guys, and we need to go forward. But again, that'll all be over on AEAC Main. But chronographs, if you've been following me over the last couple of years on the primary channel, you will know that I like to use these for you guys and display chrony data so that you know what's going on with your trajectory at the muzzle of the gun, and as of most recently, downrange at 50 and 100 yards too. And I've been working with this one for 2 years, this one for a couple of months, and this one for about 10 days. And I'm forming opinions on all of them, and I wanted to take a couple of minutes and share those with you. Now, if I'm not mistaken, Shooting Chrony, they were the originators, the innovators, and kind of brought this technology to mass market. And if you follow me on AEAC, you probably full recognize that window from videos about a year and a half ago, because I'd always like to display that chrony information, not only in shot charts in the review, but right up there on the target or on the screen for you so that you guys can see what's going on. Well, why is velocity so important to an air gunner? Well, and this is a black eye on our industry, and we as people have some skin in the game with this too, but velocity is used to sell and market in the big box stores, in the big e-commerce stores, and that's all well and good, because I know everybody thinks faster is better and more powerful is better. But when it comes to air guns, velocity is not always your friend in the moment. More power, more air, more speed makes that gun more difficult to shoot consistently well, whether it's a PCP or a Springer. And chronographs can help you kind of know what's going on there. If it's too fast, you can go to a heavier pellet. If it's too slow, you can go to a lighter pellet to kind of get in that sweet spot. And what I found over the last couple years doing this is that these Diabolo, and that is how it's pronounced. I know a couple of you guys wanted to correct me last time, but Diabolo shaped pellets tend to fly very well between about 800 and 875 feet per second. When I say well, that's kind of the green zone where they do good, you know, in the wind and over long distances of 50 and 100 yards and across varying types of ammo and calibers. That's kind of the sweet spot, you know. But when you pick up a box, you know, in our industry over at Walmart or whatever, it'll say 1,000 feet per second, 1,200 feet per second, 1,400 feet per second. That is not your friend, because pellets destabilize greatly once you get over about 900 feet per second, and once you get over about 940, the pellet is basically useless in most instances, not all, past 25 yards. But most of us are shooting these things out to 50 and 100, so if you're not getting the accuracy you want, go up in weight, you'll probably do better, or tune your air gun. Many air guns are very tunable for speed, and that's where these tools come in and can really be your friend. But back to chronographs in general, they all measure velocity. These three do it, these two do it in the same way. This one does it in a different way, and we'll get to that in a moment. But they all generally give you max velocity, minimum velocity, average velocity across the spread, across the shot string, extreme spread, which is the difference between your max and min, and standard deviation, which is a way of measuring the deviation away from all those data points across the string. Generally lower is better, because that means you're going to be closer to the mean or average, and that's what you want for consistency at 50 and 100 yards, so that you can know what the heck your gun is doing and better control the flight path of that projectile. But this guy here, these are not expensive. They're about 125 bucks. You can set them up on a 1/4-inch tripod. They're all threaded for that. And the way these generally work is there's an optical sensor here and there's one here. And as the pellet is, or arrow, or BB, or bullet is fired over the top of this, these look for the shadow that projectile produces as it goes over, and it measures the distance and time in between, and it comes up with a velocity. And these are generally accurate to within 99.5% to real, but they have some limitations, okay? They are susceptible, and I'll just take this down to give you an idea. Okay, they are susceptible to you launching that projectile down the middle between the two bars, you know, not above the shade, not where you're going to blast your chronograph, not at an angle or goofy angles this way. You kind of got to get it down to the middle to get good consistency and good readings. And this one, like this one, has the solar shades and has the bars and these kinds of things. But what I'm about to tell you, you know, if you guys like this, that's all well and good. More power to you. I don't want to say anything to take away from that. But I didn't realize what a pain in the butt this one was to use until I found this one, because the bars that hold the solar shades on this one come in 2 pieces each, not 4. The solar shade up on the top come in 3 pieces each, not 1. So if this thing hits a bump, it falls apart like, you know, a house of cards. I mean, it was really tough for me to travel, to make videos for you guys. As I said, I go 25 miles inland, 25 miles backload, everything in the truck, take it all out. And this was, even though this is really compact and maybe great like in an airplane or whatever and is made of all metal, I found it really tough to be a product reviewer and use for you guys. Now, they also come, well, let's talk about the solar shades a little bit for a minute. So there's a solar shade over the top. Why is that? Well, because they measure the shadow, right? Well, you're supposed to use the solar shades when it's sunny outside. You're supposed to not use them when it's cloudy outside. The challenge, and you know, sometimes it works, sometimes it doesn't. These types of optical sensors in both of these brands have trouble reading gold colored projectiles, BBs, copper plated, these kinds of things. But the other challenge is I video for you guys underneath a gigantic oak tree because it's very hot in Florida and the sun is really tough down here. And you know, you've got rays of sun coming through the leaves up there, and the sun moves, you know, or actually the Earth moves, the sun moves across the horizon, right? And sometimes you needed one solar shade on this side and not this side, and vice versa as the day went on, and it would misread in the middle of while I was trying to take videos for you guys. So, you know, as good as this is and as reasonably priced as this is, about 125 bucks, you know, they do have their limitations. So that's what I've learned over time, and I wanted to pass that on to you guys. Now, over the last 6 months or so, I've been using this guy by a company called Competition Electronics, and I have appreciated this very much more than I've appreciated this for a couple reasons. One, it's all one big piece, it's lightweight, it's a nice heavy duty plastic, it operates the same, and then it gives you the max, the min, the average, the standard deviation, the extreme spread. It'll hold several strings for you as well. It'll hold several 100-shot strings as will this one in the memory for you. No problem, but what I love about this is the bars are one piece, not two piece, so I've got 4 instead of 8. The solar shades are one piece, not 3 piece, so I've got 2 instead of 6. And it's just been much easier for me to carry around in the truck. It doesn't fall apart, and it operates basically the same. And I think it's priced a little better. I think this is $115-ish, if I'm not mistaken, so there's a little bit of a savings. And another huge advantage this has over the Shooting Chrony brand is it is Bluetooth compatible, and there is an app out there from Competition Electronics that will communicate with your phone. It'll save all your shot charts, it'll give you graphs, it'll even give you foot-pounds of energy if you like, because you can enter in the grains or the grams of the projectile, and I've just found it absolutely wonderful to use. And as of late, I've actually been using 2 of these, one at the muzzle and one then out at 50 yards and then one out at 100, so that you guys can have velocity information at the source of the gun and at the point of impact and see what it's doing in between. And that's all well and good, but for a guy like me who's trying to make videos for you guys, it has one huge limiting factor, and that is time. It is very hot outside here in Florida. My typical heat indexes, June, July, August, are 101 to 105, humidity 60 to 80%, and I only have till 12:12 in the afternoon until those thunderstorms come up, and camera equipment, nor this, likes rain, so I gotta get out of there. So I have a very short window to work, and time is very important to me. And unless you have, unless you've taken an hour to an hour and a half to align 4 cameras with 2 chronographs at you in 50 and 100 yards, you haven't truly lived, right? Because there's a camera on me, right? There's a camera on the chronograph at the muzzle. There is a chronograph downrange 50 or 100 yards. There is a camera on it, and there's a camera on the target. And like I said, it's very sensitive to you putting that pellet right through the middle and getting your elevation right so that it reads right. And that is a lot. And when I say a lot, of 50 and 100 yard walking before I can even hit that record button for you guys to get all this stuff perfectly lined up. So as fun as it was and as great as it was, you know, it just wasn't conducive to my sanity, all right? And that's where this guy comes in. But before we get into this, I do want to touch on one more thing. The other cool things about these chronographs, this type, is you can buy them with lighting kits so that you can safely, boys and girls, use them indoors. And the lighting kit for this, at least it was when I bought this a couple years ago, was a disaster. Because again, you've got 8 rods, and the lighting kit comes in 6 freaking pieces across the top. It was just total brain damage for me. And one of the things I love about this Competition Electronics is the lighting kit is much better designed. It's just an LED light bar. There's another one behind it. They sit on top of the poles. You plug it in and you're good to go. And it works very, very well in indoor lighting conditions. And this is very reasonably priced. The light kits are like 20 bucks, maybe. And I do have to warn you, the Bluetooth on this guy accessory is about $60. However, this brand just released a brand new model for 2018 where the Bluetooth is incorporated inside, and they're claiming even better consistency and accuracy. If I'm not mistaken, 99.5% true to life is kind of the range these guys operate in, which is good and which is great. Let's not take away from that, all right? But then I learned about this guy. Now, I will warn you, this is about a $600 kit, all right? But what's so cool about this is actual Doppler radar. So where have we heard Doppler radar? Well, we hear Doppler radar every night when we watch the news, right? Our local news stations use Doppler radar to measure the speed, distance, velocity, and trajectory of the raindrops inside of the storms as they're approaching your house. So it's incredibly accurate, but that's not where the majority of the globe uses this. The majority of the world uses this in aviation to measure speed, trajectory, velocity, heading of aircraft. And you know, most of you guys know this, I'm a cop by trade. The radar guns that we had in our cars to measure the speed of the oncoming or going away vehicle, that was Doppler radar. Well, what is Doppler radar? Doppler radar is actually electromagnetic radiation, pulses of that traveling at the speed of light, which is about 186,000 miles per hour. And what this unit does is you set your gun up next to it, you take your shot to target, and it is tracking the speed and the time of your pellet or arrow or BB or center fire from this unit all the way to the target in 1 foot increments, as well as giving you the time of all those feet. And it is just an incredibly cool tool, and it makes my job so much easier because now I have one camera on me, one camera on this, and one camera on the target downrange for you guys. So this has been a huge time saver for me and every bit worth the $600 I've invested in it. By the way, I picked it up at Utah Airguns. I think Airguns of Arizona also carries them, so you'll want to probably check out those two places. It even comes in, or can be had with an accessory bag, which is great for travel. When I was in Utah Airguns at that Rocky Mountain Airgun Challenge, a lot of guys were flying in internationally with these units in these bags so they could make sure their guns were good when they got there. But this is by far the most accurate way to measure velocity of a projectile from gun to target, and they're good according to the literature out to about 100 yards. I have tested it out to 100 with 25 cal, and it works perfectly, okay? This too has an app like this. This does not have an app, okay? Just called LabRadar. This app's called Competition Electronics. That app gives you all sorts of things like foot-pounds of energy, all the way to the target, time in 1 foot increments, all the way to the target. It gives you the shot charts and graphs. You can compare all this stuff that's going on. But what's really neat is up in this window here, it will give you 5 points of measure in addition to the muzzle. For example, I can be shooting this at 50 yards and it will give me my velocity, of course, at the muzzle, but I can set it for 5 increments. So I set it for 10, 20, 30, 40, and 50 yards so that you guys can see all right on one screen what that projectile is doing all the way down there. And same thing for 100 yards. Now, I'm not going to get into the entire manual. It is superb. It is very, very easy to set up. But long and short of it, it will give you miles per hour, kilometers per hour, meters per second, feet per second. You enter the grain of your projectile. You enter the gram of your projectile, whatever you want, and it will very accurately take that information and hit the back of that projectile as it's flying and basically listen for the frequency changes to gather information on distance and speed. And that's how this technology works. Now, you may be, I'm going to take this down so you guys can look at it here a little easier. So you might be looking at this and thinking to yourself, well, what's this over here? Why is there a microphone on this end? Well, this here is just a battery pack, guys. It's the same thing you would charge your cell phone or tablet with. You don't have to use it. You can fill it with AA batteries. I've elected not to do that. I think this is like maybe a 20,000 milliamp pack, and I've used this thing for almost 2 or 3 full straight days, and I'm still at like 85% on this bad boy. So that gives you an idea of how long this type of setup will use. But it's just a regular USB here, micro USB here, and you've got all the power you need and then some. It too uses a 1/4 inch camera tripod type setup, so you can do that, or you can buy a plate. They sell a plate with it. But like I said, you're about $600 for the unit, the bag, and the external listening device. Now, you do not have to have this unless you're using it for air guns or to shoot bow and arrow, because there's actually a microphone on the inside of this guy that will pick up handguns and center fire and high power rifles. It's good from like 65 feet per second on all the way up to like 3,900 feet per second. So you got great flexibility there. But this external microphone kit is there so that it can hear the very quiet low report of the moderated air guns that we play with today, as well as arrows. Now, the instructions are very good. You set this up for sensitivity 1 through 5, 1 being the most sensitive, 5 being the least sensitive. And I found it to be very good. It is very finicky when it comes to the proximity of your muzzle. You basically stand behind it. This is the radar comes out of this side. You set this over next to the muzzle of your gun, and boom, you fire, and it picks it up, and that's what activates the beam so that it knows to start following. But the display is very easy to use. It's very bright. Like I said, the owner's manual is awesome, works real well, and it even has a slot for an SD card. Now, this up here will give you, your feet per second, the different velocities at the preset increments, but the app will give you like foot-pounds energy and all this other crazy charts, like I said. But then if you pop this SD card out and put it in your computer, holy smokes, are you going to be in for a treat. It just gives you all sorts of amazing data. Like I said, 1 foot increments as far as velocity, all the way down to target, as well as your power in 1 foot increments, and just all sorts of good, crazy stuff. But I cannot say enough good things about this and how it's going to enhance the quality of my world. So I wanted to make a little video about it, pass that on to you, and as long as I did, touch on some of these other good products that I've been using on AEAC. Okay, now I also bought a little mini tripod for this microphone because I know you guys, a lot of you guys like to have your own YouTube channels, and I like to help you with that in any way I can, and I bought a little tripod to clip the external microphone on because I don't necessarily want all of this in the frame. And the unit is very sensitive to the distance the muzzle is from the microphone. You got to be pretty much within 6 inches of this for it to pick up with the moderated air guns, and this will just help me kind of do that and make it look all pretty and sexy for you guys once it gets up on YouTube. But that is the long and short of chronographs, how they work, how they can be of good use in a tool for you guys. And I just wanted to bring you in on some of that learning and share it with you. Now, a little bit off topic, but before I go, Giles of the Airgun Gear Show turned me on to this Samsung Galaxy S9, which takes video at 960 frames per second at 720p, and I've been playing with it with Thane's side shot scope cam, and oh my goodness, we're going to be having some fun with this going forward on the channel. I feel like I'm going to start making the scopes cam test kind of a standard in the reviews going forward, and because what's so cool about it is you can really see the trajectory of that pellet and see if there's corkscrew in it or not, and it's kind of a good indicator of whether that barrel likes that particular pellet. And I just figured it'd be another layer of value, guys. Sorry, it's very early Sunday morning. When I say very early, the wife's still sleeping. But another layer of value for you guys in the video reviews. And the reason I bring that up is because I actually ordered a case for it on Amazon, and this is the S9, and I received the case for the S9 Plus. Well, I called Amazon. They said, don't worry about it, donate it, throw it away, do whatever you want with it. We'll send you the proper case, which they're going to do. So whichever of you, if any of you have a Samsung S9 Plus and you need a very nice carbon fiber case for it, the first one in the comments that lets me know that you would like this and you live in the continental United States, no Hawaii or Alaska, I will send this to you complimentary. Like I said, just get a hold of me in the comments. I'll give you my email and we will make that happen because I can't think of a better group of guys or gals to donate it to other than my loyal, lovely followers. So with that, thank you so much for spending this time with me. Again, my name is Steve. Be sure to check me out on Facebook, Instagram, Facebook, AEAConline.com, and even Vimeo. If you want to know what's going on leading up to each and every one of these videos, I will share things there that may not necessarily make it onto camera, so you won't want to miss out. So with that, thanks again, wherever you are, whatever you're doing. I hope you have an awesome day, and I hope to sincerely see you again very soon.